Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Chiropractic Student Podcast. Today we are joined by Dr. Dean Blackstock. He works in Vitae Chiropractic in Kent. We just spoke about how to pronounce it, but I still got it wrong. Vitae Chiropractic in Kent. Graduated from McTimoney in 2004, and he's just here to give us some knowledge and spread the love of chiropractic. Thank you so much, Dean, for coming on the show.
Hey, it's an absolute pleasure, Lewis. It's been a long time coming. Thank you for having me on.
No, thank you for giving us the time. I appreciate it, and every person who listens to this really appreciates it when chiropractors give us some time. Thank you. So first of all, give us a little bit about your background in chiropractic, where you started and sort of your journey through and where you are now, if you wouldn't mind.
All right, cool. So yeah, I was always passionate about sports and the human body and kind of how that all worked. So I was looking at school once I'd done my A-levels to go potentially down the physiotherapy route. So went off to college, was doing my my sports therapy diploma, looking to kind of go down that route. And a good friend of mine was an osteopath, and he got talking to me and he was like, "Listen, Dean, you're going to have to come and check this course out. You'd love it. If you're looking for something to do after college, you need to come and check this out." So he sent me some information, and I was poring over it, and I thought, yeah, this is interesting. And I spoke to my tutor, who I did not know at the time was actually a chiropractor. And I said, well, look, I'm looking to do something after this course. I was thinking about physiotherapy, but my friend's doing osteopathy. What do you think? Which one should I go for? And she said, well, just to kind of throw a cat amongst the pigeons, have you ever thought about chiropractic? And I'd never heard of it up until that point. So we sat down at lunchtime and we went over a few bits. And she was a McTimoney graduate some years before. But she was teaching us anatomy and physiology. So I got stuck into kind of learning a little bit more about chiropractic during my last kind of terms and stuff at college. And there was just something that really appealed to me about it. I think working with the nervous system, working with that kind of master system that controls everything that we do, I just thought there's got to be more to this. I've got to really get my teeth stuck into it. So I went off to university, and as they say, the rest is history. I graduated in 2004. But I like to say chiropractic found me, and I'm very grateful for it because it's definitely opened my eyes to lots of different things.
Oh, nice. That's quite nice. Like a good way to get into it. I think similar to mine, I was very sports related going in. And then I was looking at physio, osteopath. I actually wanted to be a medical doctor before that. And then I just found my way into chiropractic as well. So it's quite fun.
Yeah.
So through school, like year 1, 2, 3, 4, did you do the 5-year or did you do 4-year?
I did the 5-year, yeah.
Yeah. So how was like each year, every year I kind of had like an awakening moment. Year 1 and 2, I hated it, almost wanted to quit. And then year 3 and 4, like I was failing uni in year 1 and 2, and I just hated it because I wasn't learning chiropractic. And then 3 and 4, I found the passion for chiropractic. And that's kind of where this spark has come from to continue and give the love back. What happened? Nice. What happened for you?
So I was embroiled in McTimoney when we had quite a few challenges with the GCC. So I started my chiropractic journey in London, and then during the kind of cull of courses, my course, they said, well, listen, guys, you can finish, but you cannot call yourself a chiropractor at the end. And I thought, well, that's a bit ironic, seeing as I'm doing a chiropractic degree. So that I had to transfer, and I went straight to the college itself and finished my degree there. So the first few years were kind of like, I just felt like I was being carried along by this current of politics and all this other stuff going on with the GCC and the college. So I just kind of got my head stuck into the studying. I think my biggest challenge during the first kind of couple of years was I was like, I'm doing a lot of studying, I'm doing a lot of theory, and I haven't touched anybody yet. You know, so I was like, when am I actually going to get my hands on someone and start doing some of the stuff that I can kind of see and hear about? Because I've done quite a few observations with chiropractors at that point. So I was really hungry and thirsty to kind of get into the hands-on clinical years. And I guess when I started kind of being exposed to that, it was just a real eye-opener, because you think, well, you know, everyone's got a back, everyone's got a spine. We're all human beings. Everyone's going to have aches and pains and all the rest of it. So it just makes sense, just like getting your teeth checked, that people would be coming in to get themselves checked whether they're in or out of pain. Because I come from a very sporty background, and we speak a lot about prehab. We speak a lot about doing stuff to not get injured rather than just running yourself into the ground. So going into the clinical year and just kind of being exposed to the way that society thinks at large, where it's like, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And why would I need to see a chiropractor? And, I feel pretty good now. Why on earth would I consider coming back? That was just that was a real eye opener, kind of going into my last kind of couple of years and then into my final year. But it was a cool experience. It's one that I look back on thinking at the time, God, I don't know when this is going to end. It seems like it's dragging for ages. And then before long, I was like, damn, that was like almost 19 years ago. So time goes really, really quickly. It's been a journey.
It's flown past. That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, so when you say you started your studies, right, there's a few questions I want to ask. Number one, did you go and like observe and like get under the wing mentorship of your old tutor who was a chiropractor?
No, I was living at the time just outside of Watford, and then she was somewhere north in Hertfordshire. So I was working part-time whilst I was kind of studying. So I stayed in contact with her, and she put me in touch with a couple of other chiropractors a little closer to home that I could kind of get out and observe. So I did spend some time with some others. But again, it was just a very, I guess, not even like different time. It just seemed really weird. Like now people reach out, it's like, can I come and observe? And I'm like, yeah, of course, just let me know when you want to come down and I'll let you know when you can come in. Back then it was like, oh, let me check my diary, or no, not really, because patients don't listen. It was just, it just seemed really different. It just seemed a little bit more, not even trickier, but just, I don't know. I think chiropractors were just maybe in the mindset of, let me just get on with my work rather than having this new grad kind of badgering me every 5 minutes. So I didn't spend that much time observing back in the day.
They were trying to palm you off to each other.
They were. It must have been me. It must have been me, Lewis. Yeah. But I stayed in touch with lots. And for me, I had one goal in mind, which was I need to get this degree underneath my belt, and I need to get out, and I need to start making a difference and making an impact. So I wasn't too concerned with necessarily having somebody that's been there, done that at that time, kind of in my corner. I had done later on once I graduated, but at the time, I was just concentrating on getting myself through school.
Nice. That's quite self brought through university. I love it. So you said you started in London and then finished off in McT. What happened there? I have no idea. What's the process?
Oh, right. So to cut a very, 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 very long story short, obviously the GCC keep us regulated as an industry, which is phenomenal. That just makes sure everyone's got a kind of even base when it comes to training and all the rest of it. Of course, there were colleges that were kind of cranking out courses and stuff for chiropractic, and they felt at the time when I was at Westminster that they weren't quite up to speed. So they said, well, listen, you're going to have to put these and these things in place, and then we're going to come back and we're going to come and check. Obviously, the year that I'd started was the year that they came back and checked, and they still weren't happy with what was being done. So they basically took the accreditation away from the college and said, well, listen, you can still like use the course content, etc., but you can come out and you can have a degree in complementary therapies, because we're not going to give you that kind of title, as it were, of chiropractic. So the year above us graduated not being able to call themselves chiropractors, and I was given the choice of, you can carry on and you can come out with a degree in complementary therapies, which I thought, okay, that's an option, but not mine. And they said, well, you can go to another college and you can finish your studies there and transfer. Bournemouth was a little too far away. I'm a bit of a homeboy, Lewis, so I felt like, I don't want to uproot and finish up, somewhere completely different in my final year. I'm just going to commute, and just went to Abingdon and studied directly with the college and finished that way. So that was my path through. Yeah, just outside of Watford. Yeah. So it was about an hour, about an hour and a bit's drive from home. So it was manageable.
Like, it sounds really like obnoxious, but as a student going through, like I had no idea of all these other things going on. Like going through McT, I had three options basically. It was Bournemouth, South Wales, or McT, and like that's all you know. Now we've got loads, especially next year. We've got Scotland opening up. Yeah, we've got South Bank. I think there's one in like Leicester or Loughborough or something like that. Okay, it's like and then it's just opening up everywhere, which is great. Yeah. But I'm just worried then. Hearing this, I'm like, I hope everyone is up to scratch with GCC regulations and making sure that the graduates actually get the chiropractic title afterwards.
Yeah, I'm sure they will do. I think we've learned massive lessons as a profession, and I think going forward as a profession, I mean, there's 70 odd million of us on this little island, and there's what, 2,500 chiropractors. So you think, well, I mean, not being funny, there's not like, it's not a saturated market. There's still a lot of room for chiropractors to come out and to help their communities, particularly with the way that we've seen the NHS has been struggling with, musculoskeletal complaints and such over the past 5-10 years and stuff. It's not going to get any better. So you think, well, we're going to have to really, as a profession, step our game up. So it's good to see that there are more opportunities opening up in places that there weren't before, because it gives us an opportunity as a profession to grow and really make an impact, because I think that we're really well placed as chiropractors to help people improve their lifestyle, and their health and well-being.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. It's only going to be good for the whole profession. Fingers crossed that everything just goes nice and smooth.
Yeah.
So
there'll always be there'll always be speed bumps and potholes, Lewis, but hopefully, fingers crossed, the vast majority will be smooth sailing.
Oh, telling me. I mean, I was at a uni that luckily the accreditation was already there, and I still made it a very bumpy road to get through uni. So but that's why I'm here. I'm here to help all the students, and that's the topic of discussion today.
Absolutely.
So first of all, some resources that you might suggest for some students, whether it be anatomy and physiology or philosophy or just a self-help book or anything about artistry, like anything, it can be chiropractic related or not, that you think is going to help a chiropractic student just either help themselves, help their studies, help them become part of the profession as a whole. What things helped you? Why? What would you suggest? Those kind of things.
Oh, good question, man. I think one of the beauties when we were going through our kind of university journey at Timony, they were really keen on teaching us a lot of the kind of philosophy of chiropractic, but there were things that I still really had never really come across until I graduated from university. So a lot of the green books and the 33 principles and stuff like that, we'd skirted around at university, but we never really got stuck into it. So we know, of course, that there is the science, the art, and the philosophy when it comes to chiropractic. And I think that my biggest tip, I guess, for any student would be, you've got to find one or maybe all three, if it's applicable to you, that really resonates with you. Now, I love science, but I'm not a sciencey kind of guy. I love the art and I love the philosophical aspect. Those two really resonated with me. So I spent quite a bit of time, I guess, diving a little bit more into that side of things. And self-reflection is a massive one, because, whether you're looking for kind of anatomical advice, or you're looking for kind of research advice, or you're scientifically based, you're looking for bits and pieces you want to get stuck into there. It really boils down to how well do you know yourself? How well do you know yourself? So you know really kind of what ticks your boxes and what doesn't. So for me, I've spent quite a lot of time really kind of delving very, very deeply into myself as an individual. How can I be better? How can I be a better human being? Now, the better and the more efficient I am at doing those things, the easier it is for me to use chiropractic as a tool to then help my community. So, I think that whether you're looking at science, art, or philosophy, you've got to spend some time on yourself, figuring out what it is that you want to get out of this journey that you might be on, whether you're just starting or whether you're kind of coming toward the end, or indeed you're out in practice. How do you like to interact and use chiropractic as a tool to help serve your community? Now, for me, like I say, the art, I love adjusting, is a big one for me, and the philosophy side of things. We speak a little bit about innate intelligence and stuff like that, but we all know how powerful the human body is, particularly when it comes to kind of healing and adapting. So, that side of things really fascinates me. And the more I know and delve into it about myself, the more I can then explain and use that when I'm kind of working with my clients. And that's kind of how I operate. So when I graduated, I was adjusting a lot. I worked in a high volume practice. I was seeing 120, 140 patients a week. So it was really good getting the clinical kind of skills going on that side. But then I kind of have pulled away a lot from that now, and it's about kind of connecting with that individual on lots of different levels, not just the physical side, but the emotional, the psychological, the environmental. All of these things have an influence on how we feel. And that's a little bit more kind of philosophically driven, because that's a bit more ethereal. That's not necessarily, where does it hurt? Let me adjust you. That's a little bit more like, well, why is it hurting? Is this necessarily a physical thing? Is this emotional? Is this environmental? Is this dietary? Is this lifestyle? So get to know yourself better, and then you can kind of dive into one of those three avenues, or all three if it ticks your boxes.
And so how would you suggest they do that? What do they do? Do they buy a journal? Do they reflect? Do they meditate? Do they what are you suggesting? What do you do?
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting, Lewis, because I've tried it all. I tried meditating. It worked to a degree for me, but I'm sure I've got ADHD. I just don't have the concentration power. I need to really work on it hard. Self-reflection and time for yourself is a big one. I think that we can get so enthralled with all the different distractions that being a chiropractor and being a student and stuff brings. We're studying, we're learning, we're researching, we're listening to stuff, we're going places, we're doing courses, and all of that is absolutely fantastic. But how often do you take time out to really, reflect and analyze the information you've taken in, see whether that resonates with you? Because if it does, you can go deeper and deeper into that rabbit hole. And if it doesn't, then you think, well, is this going to serve me or not? If you think it might do, fine, you can hold on to it. If you think it's not going to save you, then fine, don't bother. But I think that, there are so many distractions in today's world, outside of just, being a chiropractor and a student, but just, full stop. There's just a lot of stuff going on, that we don't often have that time to reflect. So for me, I like to take time out. I like to take a day or so every few months just to kind of sit down and think, really just let your thoughts go about, what direction am I going in? Am I moving closer in that direction or not? What do I need to do to make sure that I get there? Now, if that means that, fine, I need to go back to the drawing board and I need to learn some different techniques, or I need to go, maybe read some more on whatever it might be, 33 principles, or maybe dig in some of the green books or whatever, or I need to maybe go and listen to some audio. You need to take some time out to figure out, where am I right now? Where am I right now? And where do I want to be? Now, you just have to reverse engineer that gap. If it means journaling, journal. If it means listening to stuff, listen. If it means going on courses, go and do it. If it means, do you know what, I think I'm moving in the right direction, fine, rinse and repeat, reevaluate in another few months' time. But I think that what we want to try and do is make sure that as individuals, we do give ourselves that breathing space, that time to really reflect and analyze and find out exactly where I am right now. And then, where is it I want to be in 3 months, 6 months? How do I get there? Well, okay, I need to get there by going and do this course. Right, fine. That's what we need to focus on. And then you move in that direction. So yeah, I'd love to give something a bit more solid, but everybody's so different. I think you're going to have to embark on that journey on your own.
I feel like I just had a guided reflection there anyway. I think I went somewhere then. I was like, wow, where do I want to be? Like the way you were talking there, I don't know, it just sent me away. That's lovely. I really like that, because especially as a student, like most of you are going to be like 4 or 5 days a week at uni, maybe doing a weekend or an evening job. If you do find yourself, you have a day off every now and then, and it happens, and you have half terms, taking a day to not Netflix and chill and lay in bed all day and have a lay in until 1 p.m. It's get up, have like a self-reflection day. And
yeah,
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is probably something you could do with a few friends, chiropractic buddies around you, and like make a little almost morning, afternoon, day of it together, and be like, let's see where we all go, and then actually talk about it afterwards. I think that, whilst you were talking, that kind of came to my mind, and I was like, that'd be like a really cute group session to do, like with your closest friends at university, or get a group of 100%. You to just come together. I already have a feeling that instead of there being a pivotal moment for you, like an aha moment, I feel like you, the way that you're talking is like you've just slowly kept growing throughout your whole career so far. Correct me if I'm wrong, but was there anything that kind of you read once, you heard once, you saw once that just went, holy shit? You can swear, by the way. Holy shit.
Oh, you know what? Thank you, Lewis. I've been biting hard.
But is there any points where you've been like, oh, holy shit, like that is like insane. I want to dive deeper into that. And that has molded you into where you are today. Is there something that really caught your attention? You've said about the philosophy and the art, but within that, is there anything that kind of like you've molded yourself around that has made Dapper Chiro Dean Blackstock today? Is there anything that's like sort of was the catalyst for that?
There is one thing, Lewis, that still sticks with me now. There's been various moments where there's never been like a big aha, like, oh my God, the penny's actually dropped now, I get it. Because I think that you're on this constant evolutionary process where it kind of is almost like, the Russian dolls. You kind of open it and you go, I cracked it, and you go, damn it, there's like another one inside, and you think, okay, well, let me figure this one out, and then it just kind of keeps going and going. So I think that there are moments where you feel like you've turned the corner, or you've reached a pivotal moment. You go, okay, cool, now I think I've got all my pieces in place. And then you think, oh, in a minute, there's something else. But I do remember I must have been, I was working in Essex at the time, and I had some free time. And at that time, I was listening to quite a lot of Anthony Robbins stuff. And I went down a rabbit hole, and I kind of came across Jim Rohn. He's probably known to quite a few people that are listening. If not, go check him out, because he's an absolute
What was his name again? Sorry?
Jim Rohn. He's an American. Yeah, he's, I think, passed away a few years ago now. Rohn, Jim Rohn. But he was a mentor to Tony Robbins and all those guys. Nice. So he said something, and I remember I had some free time. I had a client that had rescheduled, so I had some time. I was upstairs. I thought, I'm just going to stick YouTube on. I'm just going to listen to a bit of Jim Rohn. And he was talking in this lecture, and he said, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And I was like, that's interesting. And I rewound it, and I kind of played it again. And it stuck with me, and it really made me think about what I was doing. At that time, like I said, I was working really, really hard. And I felt like I was just on this treadmill. Now, I'd never really taken any time to really step back and work on myself, other than what courses do I need so I can be a better chiropractor? Do you know what I mean? I'd never really spent time on stuff for me as Dean Blackstock. And it was at that point that I decided I need to figure myself out, because a lot of the challenges and stuff that come up in life and in practice are a kind of almost a microcosm of stuff that we are maybe internalizing. So that quote has always stuck with me. And it's been something that I've really worked very hard on over the past probably 5 years more so, because I've had kids and we've been moving, and life isn't always that bloody easy. So, it's hard to put yourself first. But I've certainly, over the past 5 years, 3 to 5 years, dived a little bit more in the past couple of years, especially. I suppose on the outside, it might be like, damn, he's really selfish. It's like, no, I'm not selfish. I just know where my priorities must lie. I have to figure myself out. And I think that in figuring myself out as best as I possibly can, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, all the rest of it, that makes me a more rounded individual. That means that people around me get the best version of me. Now, if they get the best version of me, guess what? It's going to raise their energy, their vibe. And if they're their truest self and their best self, guess what? It's that ripple effect that, a lot of people speak about. So, there's never really been a big aha moment. It's been lots of little things along the way that have really provoked my curiosity. And that one by Jim Rohn was probably one of the biggest, because it just made me think, do you know what? I don't want to get back on this career of mine and think I've had a long 20, 30, 40 year career as a chiropractor, and I've helped lots of people. But, do you know, there's that but.
Yeah. Am I
there's
happy
something
deep down? Yeah.
You know?
Ooh,
so
it's
I
quite
was
deep.
Like, so I was like, I've got to work on myself so that I can look back and think, do you know what? I made an impact, and I was my truest, best self, or as close as I could possibly get to that. It's always a journey, but at least I gave it my best shot, so that's been my take on that.
So you've spoken really passionately today about self-reflection and putting number one at number one, basically. Did that talk that you are referring to make you appreciate that more? Did it start this? Did it solidify your thoughts on reflection? What was that in terms of the catalytic moment? Did it start you on your reflective journey, or did it solidify the fact that you need to do more of it and it was really important?
I think it triggered a memory, because when we were at university, we had to do some self-reflective journals. I put my teeth back in now. And you kind of, you know, when you're in study mode, you kind of like, right, this is the project, guys. I want you to do a, you know, self-reflective journal, cover this, and you kind of go and you do it, and then you just hand it in and you forget about it. But the purpose really, and I'd love to have had this conversation at the time, it's like the purpose of doing this journal is not so that you can just get a mark at the end, chalk it off, and then you can bugger off to the next thing. The purpose of this journal is to get you starting to think about you as an individual, how you process certain things, and how you can use this period of reflection to then improve yourself going forward. That's really the purpose of it. It's not just, well, do it and then we'll see what grade you get, and then well done, pass or fail, move on to the next. So when I'd listen to The Secret, I'd listen to some stuff from Anthony Robbins, I'd listen to obviously some stuff from Jim Rohn, and that thing with Jim Rohn in terms of working harder on yourself than you do on your job, it just brought it back again. It was like I'd forgotten that. I just got stuck into the job, the title of I'm a chiropractor, I adjust and help people. That's what I do. It's like, well, that's what you do, but that's not who you are. And I think that I'd forgotten about that. So being able to just have that reminder of, oh shit, I need to just not even slow down, but just remember, why am I doing it? I'm doing it because I love helping people. Why do I love helping people? Because I love experiences, and experiences are better when everyone's having fun and everyone's enjoying themselves. Okay, well, why do I like that? Well, I mean, that's what life to me is all about. And if I can help do that, then, you know, I'm going to crack on and give it my damnedest, you know. But it's quite easy to just get stuck into wake up at 7, get to work, adjust, have your break, go back, adjust, go home, chill for a little bit, go to bed, wake up, rinse and repeat. And you think, wow, okay, I don't know where the past 5-10 years has gone, but I'm enjoying it, but I'm just on this treadmill of stuff, you know, not really kind of feeling it along the way. So yeah, it's just having that self-awareness to just remember why has been a big one for me. And thankfully that was a timely reminder.
I like that. It's quite interchangeable as well with it's relatable in terms of, as a student, you can see, oh, I'm just doing this to get my grade. You're doing it for a result where you're not thinking about yourself. And the same thing as being a chiropractor, you're doing it for the result.
Yes.
Like, I'm a chiropractor, this is what I do, rather than thinking about yourself. And that's a really good way to think about it. Like, you can start that journey through university when they're actually provoking you to start doing this stuff. Like, everyone's come on and said, like, you need to start doing these things where you're happy, because your vibration, you mentioned it yourself, your energy, your vibration, it reflects onto your patients, and then so on forth, that domino effect. 100%. And they tell us this at uni, but we're like, oh, we're too busy falling asleep at the back of the class, and like people are like, oh, that sounds silly, I just want to crack bones, and it's like, oh my god, like, actually listen. And that's like the best. Donald Francis came on and was like, listen to your bloody tutors, you idiots, because they are genuinely, most of the time they're chiropractors as well, and it's like they're genuinely like this podcast. Just listen to them. They're telling you, they're giving you all this information you need. Sometimes it's boring and you have to learn it, but sometimes it is actually stuff that you can take away. And you'll, like you said, like, there's been times where I'm lectures where I look back on, I'm like, oh my god, I wish I listened more during that now, because I'm like, it's always regret and in hindsight. Oh, amazing, thank you.
Pleasure.
And so last few questions, I'll group them all together. You've mentioned a few people. So you've got Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn. Are there any other people that you like listening to that get you pumped, that get you passionate, that get you going?
Oh man, do you know what? I'm so this time we're living in, Lewis, it's bloody amazing. You know, there's so many. There are literally I mean, those guys, I mean, there's chiropractors that are doing some great things as well. I love
go on.
Who am I really been listening to recently? Like Brett Jones, he's a big one for me. There's a couple of other guys, Jamal Fruster, I think I've been checking out quite a lot. I love obviously listening to, I mean, Donald, you mentioned him just now, Donald Francis, and a couple of other guys, Lawrence Tham. I've done some work with, he's in Australia. I think the ability now to reach and have access to all these different chiropractors, there's so many, honestly. A lot of these conferences that the BCA, UCA, and kind of and the others have put together, where you've got access to listen to other chiropractors, is just, it's been a real blessing. And particularly the past couple of years, because we've had literally bloody nowhere to go, being able to kind of go online and listen to people has been really, really cool. So I just, I just like to kind of see who's out there and have a listen. If it resonates, great. If it doesn't, fair enough. It's an opportunity to just see how other people think, and then you kind of move on to the next and rinse and repeat. But I'm quite at the minute. I love the philosophical side of things, because I think as a society and as humanity, we seem to be at a very interesting point in time. And I just think, the philosophical side of things for me is what really kind of floats my boat, because it does get you thinking about, we speak a lot and we hear a lot about things like global warming, and obviously we're in the middle of a pandemic and other bits. And it just, we're all human beings, and as humans, unfortunately, we've kind of been lulled into this false insecurity that we're at the top of the food chain. And it's like, well, theoretically we are, but I mean, let's face it, this tiny little virus has had us all bleeding crippled for the past couple of years. So we're not as infallible and as indestructible as we think we are. So you kind of, you start to think, well, what's it all about? Like, what is it all about? I love being a chiropractor, but why am I doing it? How am I using it to the best of my abilities? Am I? If I am, great. If I'm not, how can I be better? And really that builds into that bigger picture of, I guess from a society perspective, there's always going to be different pools. People are going to have different agendas. People are going to want to do different things. That's fine. It's part of the human tapestry. It makes it interesting. But I think as a collective, we've got to come together and think, are we doing the best for ourselves? And at the minute, we just seem to be making some real shitty decisions. And it's like, sometimes you have to be the example. So, I listen to all sorts of people in nutrition and health, gym stuff, motivational stuff, just so that I can be a better example. If I can just be one person in my immediate community that seems to be doing the right thing, hey, it might influence 3, 4, 5, 10, 1,000, 15,000, who knows? I don't know. Don't really care. But it's going to influence somebody. And if that then influence somebody else, then it's that ripple effect, it just makes a big difference. So there's a kind of little bit of an ego, like, oh, I wonder how much of an impact I can make. And then part of it is just like, well, listen, regardless, I'm here on planet Earth to try and experience this life as best I possibly can. So, I'll listen to whoever along the way. Do you know what? I'm really getting stuck into Russell Brand. I mean, I don't know why, but I just like the way that he thinks. Even kind of outside of the profession. Yeah, anyone, any and everyone. I'm very kind of open-minded to it. I don't tend to have a closed book on that front.
Well, the one thing I've written down there from that part of conversation that we've had is literally just 3 words, and I put be the example. When you said that like gave me goosebumps. I was like, do you know what? Now more than ever, like you said, the whole philosophy talk, I love philosophy at the moment. I'm getting big into it, and
nice.
Right now, I feel like there is a complete lack of philosophy in the whole of the humankind. Like we have
across the board.
There's no meaning for anything that we're doing at the moment.
Yeah.
And when you say be the example, now more than ever, I don't like talking about stuff that's going on because it always causes debates and discussions and arguments. But now more than ever, with our beliefs in natural healthcare, and I think being the example is such a huge thing that I get really passionate about, because if this podcast, if I'm the only one who listens to this and I've got all this information from you, I know that you alone have made an impact on my life. The fact that I get listeners to this, I know that there's going to be something that we say during this podcast that impacts their life. That it's not ego, but I know that one kid might have been that one kid that I was in year 1 or 2 that needed to hear something like this.
Absolutely.
To not quit chiropractic, to find the passion. That's what gives me my drive to do this every week. I've been doing these weekly for months now, and I continue, and I want to continue doing it because that's what gives me my drive. And it's not my purpose. I'm here to be a chiropractor and spread the love. But if I help a kid, bloody hell, I'm over the moon.
Yeah, absolutely.
But being the example, like now more than ever, every chiropractor I'll get on my high horse a little bit, but like we should be spreading that natural love, like, and just
Yes.
loving everyone, doing as much as we can within our communities, because collectively, I know there's only 2,500, 3,000 of us, but collectively, if all of us look after a chunk of the country together, there's no reason why our outreach can't be absolutely massive.
It'll be tremendous. Absolutely.
And my pet peeve sometimes is when I see chiropractors and I know that they stand for natural, and I know that they stand for like freedom of health and things like that, and I'm like, sometimes I feel like being quiet is just as bad as like you may as well. It's hard because I don't want to shit talk people. I'm like, but you're just part of the problem if you're not speaking out. Like, if you stand for nothing, it's from Hamilton. If you stand for nothing, what will you fall for? And I fucking love that phrase.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are we fighting for? Like, chiropractic is natural health. Like, whether you like it or not, that is it. And it's like, if you're not standing for this as a chiropractor and you're not fighting what's going on right now, or at least providing an alternative narrative, then what are you doing? You're not helping your profession. You're not helping yourself. You're not staying true to yourself if you're a true chiropractor. And rant over before I get myself in trouble. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
No. You know what, Lewis? Absolutely, I bloody love that. That's absolutely spot on because, hey, listen, you know, I'm in the middle of isolation right now, and it's been really interesting because people have been like, "Oh, are you in isolation? I thought you'd been vaccinated." I'm like, "No, I haven't had my jabs yet. I caught COVID last year." So I was like, "Well, listen, I've caught it and I've survived. So that's got to be something, right?" Now, from my perspective, I've been telling, you know, clients when they've been asking me, this is where it gets very interesting now, because regardless of, you know, put COVID to one side, but this is just how society seems to be going in a minute. There doesn't seem to, it's very binary, and life is not that binary. There's a huge gray area. Now, that does open up then room for discussion. And this is, I think, why I'm really interested in the philosophical side of things, because that in essence is what it is. It's discussing, it's ideas, it's coming together, it's talking about the differences, not necessarily having to come to an agreement of you have to be doing this or you have to be doing that, and there's no in between. It's like, we don't have to do either of that. You can choose. And that's, at the minute, the biggest frustration is that we don't seem to be getting much choice.
We can't.
And I think there's a lot of people that,
choice. Do
you know? And I think there's as chiropractors, we're really well placed to kind of use our skills, our knowledge, to kind of just give people, like you say, that alternative. And it's about asking the questions. You know, have you thought about whatever the question is? Because at the minute, a lot of people are just not thinking. And we as clinicians have an obligation, I feel, to ask those questions. Now, not everybody's going to want to do that. That is absolutely fine. You do not have to. But I think that you've got the ability to, if you want to, and you shouldn't be scared to, out of any repercussion, because, oh, well, what are they going to say? Or I'm going to do this, or they're going to believe that I'm this, or blah, blah, blah. It's like, you shouldn't be fearful of that. If you've got an opinion or you've got a value that you want to get across, then, you know, as a chiropractor, as a student, or whatever it might be, you have, in air quotes, a right to say that and a right to be heard. Now, that doesn't necessarily the other person hearing it has to adhere to it, or they have to believe in it or agree with you. We can agree to disagree. And I think that that's the beauty of some of the philosophical conversations that you have. You think, well, okay, I've heard you, understand where you're coming from, but that's just not the way that I feel about it. All right, cool. And you can agree to move on. So I think that, you know, from my perspective, when I was just listening to you just then, Lewis, it was like, there's a lot of people at home going to be listening, going, banging the drum, going, yes, go on, Lewis, you can do it. And sometimes it's like, well, fine. You know, there are going to be people that would love to say the things that we say or other people say. Now, I don't think as a profession, we all have to beat the same drum in the same way. Some people are designed to just be a little bit more, you know, I'm not going to play the drums, I'm just going to play the violin over there. It's like, fine, play something, play whatever you want, but just get involved. Don't just sit in the sidelines wishing, because there's no reason you can't be part of that orchestra. You have a voice and you have a platform to speak. Now, you don't have to be on social media bleating about this, that, or the other, but you can say it to your clients, you can say it to your friends, you can say it to your family, you can say it to yourself. And I think if you start there, that, you know, like I said, self-reflection, that, you know, knowing yourself better, start with that, and then you'll find you'll grow in confidence, and then you'll start to be able to do that more. You know, ask me, you know, 5 years ago, would I be saying and doing the things that I'm doing now? No, of course I bloody wouldn't, because I just wasn't in the right headspace. Yeah. Now, of course, it's like, well, I know more of who I am, what I stand for, what I believe, what I don't believe, what I'm open to. And all of that enables me to now have these conversations. And, you know, that's the beauty of kind of life, is that we're on this journey, and not everybody's going to be at the same point at the same time. But like I said earlier, you have to be that example, be your best version. And other people think, damn, okay, well, if he can, I can. You know, I'm not doing anything special. Jim Rohn, Anthony Robbins, you know, all these other guys, these gurus that we look up to, big kind of hitters in the profession, you know, they're not superhuman. They're nothing special. They're just human beings that were prepared to say, this is what I stand for. This is what I believe. And if you like it, great. If you don't like it, then you can piss off and you can do something different. And you have to be that way sometimes. But then it's like, well, if that doesn't resonate with me, then there's something else out there. There's someone else out there that will have a message that I believe in or that I value. Mm-hmm. And if there really isn't, which I doubt it very much, then there's probably a reason, because it's probably you that should be that person.
That just lit a fire in my belly. I love that. That's so good. Give the example, guys. Listen to what we're saying. Stand up. Okay, amazing. Right, before we get into too much trouble and stuff.
Yeah.
Are there any,
thank you. I'll get off my soapbox now.
Yeah. No. Are there any other bits of like advice or tips or resources that you would recommend to students who are struggling, find that passion, anything that helped you, or things that you know would help them straight away?
Is there any tips or advice? I think, you know, reach out, speak to people. You know, there are going to be, you know, tutors, other students in years above, or sometimes not even on the same course. You know, I had friends and colleagues that were doing completely different degrees, and it's like, you know, oh, Dean, how are things going? Man, bloody hell, let me tell you what I'm going through. Yeah, man, do you know what? Funny enough, I had a similar kind of thing. Now, they could be doing engineering or whatever, but we're all human beings going on this journey and this experience. So I think if you are struggling to find that passion or to find that kind of, that spark, you know, it's not necessarily something that you're going to kind of just be able to kind of switch on like a light switch. Sometimes it takes time. But I think have conversations and ask and find out from people how they went about it. And ultimately, just have fun. I know it's hard. I've been there, and it is tough, particularly at the current time. It is tough. It is tough to have fun. And it's not going to be all, you know, unicorns and rainbows by any stretch of the imagination. But, you know, you've got to enjoy the process for what it is. This is a really fun time still to be alive. We've got so much at our disposal. We've got so much that we can kind of utilize, and so many things that we can kind of, you know, read and listen to and experience. I think it's a great time to be alive. So you've got to enjoy the process and have some fun. So in amongst it all, you've got to enjoy it, you know. And if you're not enjoying it, take some time out and figure out, well, why am I not enjoying it? And if that's too tricky a question, okay, flip it on its head. How can I enjoy it? Well, I could probably enjoy it by doing more of this and this. All right, well, then that's what you're going to have to do, because ultimately it's going to be your experience that's going to be paramount to how you utilize chiropractic to the best of your abilities. And if you're not having fun, it's going to suck. Whether you're just starting out or whether you're 3-5 years down the line, it's just going to suck. So I think if you can just remember, okay, I need to be enjoying this. How can I enjoy it? What can I do? Or who can I speak to find out how I can enjoy it more? That's going to help you massively.
I mean, I'm not going to say anything else. You've said it all. That's like the best advice. There you go. That's Dean's best advice for you.
There you go.
I think that's a really nice place for us to like wrap up what's going on. Cool. You're really active on social media, which I really love, and it's at Dapper Chiro. Really good on Instagram. I love it. If people want to get in contact with you, is it okay to like reach out? Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah? My DM's always open. As you know, Lewis, I'm not always the speediest at getting back, but I promise you, if you reach out to me, I will get back to you. Yeah. Guaranteed.
Can people come?
Yeah, anytime.
can people come observe, have a chat as well at the
Yeah,
clinic?
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
amazing.
I'm down in sunny Kent. So if ever you're in the area, or if ever you want to kind of make a day trip of it and come down and
Yeah.
visit, then by all means, it would be an absolute pleasure. That's no
Amazing.
worries.
Yeah, I'll pop all the links and things to your socials and then your clinic in the description. Wow.
Wicked.
I mean, I'm so pumped after that. Thank you so much, Dean, for coming on the show.
Absolute pleasure.
And thank you everyone else for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks so much for having me, Lewis. Have a fantastic day, bro.
Cheers.